Okay, so why don't we call the meeting to order at 5 p.m. And our first order of business was to, Tammy and I are both here, so I'm gonna keep my mask on. If you guys can't hear or there becomes a problem, please let me know. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, so our first order of business is the budget informational meeting. So I didn't know if somebody could maybe put the, is there any way to put the articles on for people to see?
Yes, I can do that. Bill, as soon as I do that, I'm not going to be able to see the participant list though. So
Yeah, I'll help with that.
thank you.
So Dr. Backus was supposed to meet us here also. I don't know if he's in. But if you go to page 6, when Dr. Backus comes in, we'll let him go through the agenda, but we'll start it. So the annual meeting is May 22nd, 2021 at 71 Main Street. It's under the big top at the Wardsboro Town Office, Wardsboro Town Hall, chicken barbecue place for the street fair that's not happening again this year. The meeting's going to start at 10 a.m. Voting will be from 10 to 7. Also at the same time, Andy, I believe, is coming tonight, and Jackie to take absentee ballots, but there's nobody here, just me and Tammy. So Article 1 is select a moderator to serve from July 1 to June 30, 2022, and to set a stipend of $200 per meeting. Is there any questions or comments on that? My understanding is Dr. Backus is willing to serve again. Article 2, to elect a clerk to serve for fiscal year July 1 to June 30th, 2022, and to set a stipend of $2,400. Currently, our clerk is Andrew McLean, and he has agreed to serve again. Are we all set on that one?
I'm all good.
Okay, then moving on to Article 3, to elect a treasurer to serve for the fiscal year July 1, 2021 to June 30, 2022, and set a stipend of $2,400. Currently, Marco Tellini is our treasurer, and my understanding is he's agreed to serve again. Is everybody good with Article 3?
Good with me.
Okay, so Article 4, to elect 3 auditors to serve July 1 through June 30, 2022, if Article 14 fails. And that's to set a stipend of $200 per meeting of the auditors. If everybody remembers, we had a lot of discussions about this, and you aren't required to have an auditor if you have a professional audit done. So we are going to have an article on the Australian ballot. Shall the voters of the River Valley School District eliminate the office of school district auditors as allowed in Title 17 VSA 2651B? So that'll be a yes or no. Yes if you want to eliminate the office, and no if you want to keep the office of auditor. I believe this year, currently Randy Capitani from Dover and the minister in East Dover, his name escapes me, are our current auditors, and I don't think we ever got a third one. We had a couple people from Wardsboro interested, but nobody signed up, unless I'm wrong. Rick, do you remember?
I don't remember us ever having anybody actually sign up. There was interest, but then it never went anywhere. I don't think we ever mentioned it again or revisited it, to my knowledge.
Okay. Does anybody have a different recollection? Article 6 or Article 5. So the voters for the River Valley Unified School District set the annual stipend for the school directors at $2,000 and for the chair at $250,000 a year. Any problem with that?
Yes.
Thank you. A couple of you caught on. It's $2,500 for the chair. Tammy slapped me so hard my arm's sore. Moving on to Article 6. Shall the voters approve mileage reimbursement at the federal reimbursement rate for the month in which the mileage occurred? And Bill, maybe because you probably put in for mileage occasionally, do you know what that is like currently?
It is 56 cents.
What has it been over the last year? What's the high and low? Do you recall?
54 to 58.
It's pretty consistent.
Yeah, it is a very narrow band.
Okay, is there any questions on that?
None here.
Voters, oh,
I said none here.
oh, cool. Thank you, Rick, for keeping me on my toes. So the voters of the River Valley authorize the school board to withdraw money from the reserve fund to offset the homestead tax rate, not to exceed.
So it got, I'll take the own for this. So it's on the official warning. It got cut off on this printing. I just recognized that about 15 minutes ago. The number is $150,000. So it will be important on the day of to just start out with that, but it is on the official warning, $150,000.
And that's where it ends, Bill?
Not to exceed, and then the next line is $150,000.
Okay, so right now, we're just gonna kind of go with that recommendation. We're hoping by the next meeting in 2 weeks that we'll have a better feel for what's going on in Montpelier and hopefully be able to give some exact numbers on what the tax rate does and what this represents. I think, and we'll also get from Lori Garland, I won't put her on the spot tonight, but the Thursday or Friday before the next meeting, we'll see exactly what we are looking at for reserves for this year, because we'll be closer to the end of the year, a month and a half away. And we'll also have a better feel for what Laura and her comrades are doing up in Montpelier. So hopefully we'll have better numbers to give. Are there any questions on that? Article 8, shall the voters approve to expend $6,037,600, which is the amount the school board is determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year. It is estimated that this proposed budget, if approved, will result in education spending of $20,236.97 per equalized pupil. This projected spending is about 16.52% higher than spending for this current year. And remember, in this number, last year we bought down the rate, I think with $200,000. And there were some other changes that were made that make this number seem higher. But if you look in the budget, which starts on page in your, and I guess it's probably not a good time to move around too much, but in your book, when you get it, starting on page 11 is proposed revenue, and page 12 is proposed expenditures. And if you look at page 18, it shows the variances, and it should be a cheat sheet on page 9. So our actual increase percentage-wise in expenditures is pretty low in the elementary through pre-K through 6 of 1.92%, but our secondary increased 8.78%. And with the amount of money we're bringing in, the overall increase is quite a bit higher. So district-wide, our revenues are down a little bit this year over last year. So there's a pretty good explanation of where it is and where the increases are, but our big increase is secondary tuition of 23 students for a total of $473,855. You take that off the budget, and that's a pretty big increase.
Rich, I think one thing we want to remind people too is that we're not getting credit for those 23 actual students that we have when we come up with this equalized per pupil number.
Correct, because they don't count them until they've been in school they count them the first year in October, November, December, and then that comes to us the following year 50% because it's a 3-year average weighted daily membership number. So it's a little confusing, and I've always joked that if you look at our numbers, we never have whole students. We always have partial students, 229.6. So that it's tough to have a 0.6 student and try to educate that 0.6 student. So Rick, you bring up a good point. Also, there's other little nuances in there with when Dover and Wardsboro combine, we get some money for hold harmless. It used to be called hold harmless, and now it's called a merger grant. And there's several other grants that we get. Some special ed money that changes how our budget is. We also get some transportation reimbursement and root food reimbursement. So there's a whole bunch of different numbers. All we vote on is the expenditures. We actually don't vote on income. But if you look at the income page, you can see that's changed a little bit also. Mark, are we all set to move on?
We're good.
So then Article 9, shall the voters of the school district move any surplus from the 2021 budget into the general reserve fund to be reserved for future uses approved by the voters? So this money just goes into a general reserve and then we vote on it. That's why we have the article earlier, a couple articles earlier, to move money to help offset the tax rate. And that is the general reserve fund. We also have 2 other reserve funds that we're going to talk about in a couple articles, a building reserve fund and a transportation reserve fund. And also this allows us to just move the money, wait until next year to vote on it. So we're kind of saying if there is a surplus, any of that surplus will get moved. If it winds up being a deficit, we'll have to bring it back to the voters next year and see how you want to cover that. So Article 10, tuition rate to approved independent schools at $18,490, which is the Burton sending school tuition for the 21-22 school year. State law says that every year we pay the statewide average tuition for any grades that we don't run ourselves or don't have instruction within the district. And that if we don't want to pay the statewide tuition, we can't pay less, but what we can do is pay more, but the electorate has to vote on that number every year. And I know the last year of Wardsboro and the last few years of Dover, the voters in both towns had approved the Burton annual tuition rate for independent schools for their sending school tuition. And that's a number we've been putting in there, which is the $18,490. I think we're pretty close to the statewide average. I believe that was around 18,000, but Lori or Bill may know that. Bill, do you know what the statewide average is?
I think we only know last year's statewide average. They haven't given us this year's statewide average, but Lori might have a more up-to-date number.
Right. Yeah, no, they haven't given this year's. I thought it was 16 to 17,000.
Yeah, last year is 16.8.
Yeah.
And what was Burton's number last year?
3% less than what it is this year. So
it was 17 something, upper 17s.
So yeah, it's about $500 less.
Okay, so 17, like 9.
right.
Okay.
I can look it up if you want, but
No, Lori, when we talk before the next informational meeting, we'll get those numbers together.
sure.
Okay, thank you, Lori.
Mhm.
It said our internet connection was unstable and you guys came in clearer than when we're stable. So maybe that's a bad sign. I don't know. So then Article 11 is shall the voters fund its reserve funds in the amount of $20,000 for building and $10,000 for transportation. And the transportation funding is not to pay for the cost of transportation. It's to put money away should we have to replace one of the 2 school buses that we own. Currently, the transportation fund has about $100,000 plus a little interest. and the buildings has around 200,000 plus a little interest. There isn't going to be a handout, if we don't have it in the book, with some of our projected spending over the next few years and where the money's at. And also with our study we're doing over the next year, we're going to work on recommendations on what we think that number should be going forward, remembering that this contribution to the reserve fund is to kind of level fund things so that if we need a roof on a building or we need to replace some major components or a bus, we don't have to have a special article to approve a bunch of money or borrow, so that we have the money to be able to buy it and keep moving forward. Are there any questions on Article 11? Hearing none. Article 12, shall the voters approve the school board to expend $30,000 for design, implementation, and maintenance of a website for the district and schools in 21-22. So Article 12 has been something the board has been discussing since almost before we were an operating district. We've done a few different RFPs. We feel this is a comfortable number to get us started. It's comparable to what some other municipal projects have cost. And this is not to affect how the school is operated. The websites for the school are through the state for the financial portion. And there's some programs that the supervisory union uses. This would specifically be to promote and allow access to the River Valley schools. And if you guys, Mark, I don't know if you want to, if there's any questions, or Mark, you want to take a couple minutes and give us a brief explanation?
I actually think you did a pretty good job of describing it. I'm happy to take questions though.
You're the one that's going to see him. Do you see any, sir?
No.
Okay, then let's move on. Any other business that may legally be addressed, open discussion for informational purposes. Again, as always, Dr. B will tell you that you can't expend money in this line item. There's nothing binding. But if you say that, you know, we think Richie Werner ought to have more hair on top of his head so he can take his hat off during school board meetings, that'd be a good time to bring this up. If you don't like the color or the background that we're using, that's it's definitely informational to give opinion and ask questions that maybe aren't covered during the meeting that you've had, or you want more information. We may not have the information for you, but we can definitely get it for you and tell you how we'll make that available. So it's a good time to just thank everybody and thank the staff for all their hard work during COVID and being hybrid teaching and not hybrid teaching. And a lot of stuff's gone on in the last year. A lot of people put their lives on hold, but I think all in all, our staff did an excellent job. Our administrators did a fantastic job, including central office. And even the board, I really would like to appreciate everything the board did. It's not easy having meetings where you're trying to be at home with sometimes not stellar internet connection. So I think everybody did a great job. And I was doing a lot of virtual pats on the back the other day. So I'd like to give everybody a pat on the back, all our staff and our administrators. So a virtual pat on the back, folks. That was at the Wyndham Central meeting. We were doing virtual pats on the back. So then Article 14 and 15 are going to be by Australian ballot. There are absentee ballots you can get from the individual town clerks. I believe Andy made arrangements with Jackie to get them in Wardsboro, and you can get them in Dover. Remember, it's a different ballot in the town you're in because you only vote for the representative school director in your town. As far as I know, there's no opposed positions, or there's one person on each ballot. In Wardsboro, I believe for the 3-year term, Dwight, you're running for that. Is Dwight here?
No, I am here, and you are correct. I'm running.
Dwight's running for the 3-year term. There's a 3-year term, but only 2 years are remaining. That Kate is in that position. I believe Kate got her petition in, and I'm running for the 3-year term in Dover. Or you can do a write-in and vote for a write-in. And then Article 15, we talked about, shall the voters of the River Valley School District eliminate the school district auditors allowed in Title 17. And that is your warning, and that's your meeting. We start at 10 o'clock on Saturday, May 22nd. Hopefully it'll be a nice sunny day and there'll be a lot of people here to join us. Any questions, comments, thoughts? You guys made it too easy. Well, not to look a gift horse in the mouth. I think we can, we are done, but I think we should wait till 6 o'clock before we start our regular board meeting. So why don't we take a 40-minute adjournment? Bill, I don't believe we can start because we warned the regular meeting to start at 6. Matt?
I was just wondering, good evening, everybody. I was just wondering if you can do the executive session before the regular meeting, or would that also need to be warned differently? Bill, maybe?
I think we can, I have no problem doing that. I think what we would do is we wouldn't be able to talk about it if we come out and have made a decision until 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, legally, you warn the meeting for 5, so you could keep rolling, but I understand that if I read the agenda and if I was only interested in the school portion, I would show at 6. So I think that is the respectful approach. I think Matt makes a really good point that it would make a lot of sense to go ahead and do the executive session. And I do agree with you, Rich, that you should hold off commenting if any decisions are made after the executive session to begin at 6 o'clock.
Okay, does anybody have a problem with that? Does anybody disagree? So some of you we're gonna have to put back in the waiting room. Oh, Laura?
Sounds good.
Okay. So I think we're gonna need Matt and Tammy in the executive session. I don't know, Mark, I think if you're in control, can you put everybody into the waiting room? No, not yet though.
I can, but let me first make a motion that we go into executive session for personnel issue.
A leave request, yep. Hang on, hey, before we get a second, Matt, what about hiring a new teacher? Is that executive session?
No, all we have tonight is an update on that process. We don't have any candidate at this point.
Okay, thank you. So Mark made a motion to go into executive session for the employee leave request. Do I have a second to that?
Kate seconds.
No.
Okay, so we have a second by Kate. Is there any discussion? If not, at 5:24 p.m., all those in favor say aye.
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 So we just need Tammy and Matt.
Okay, hang on, it appears as though the ayes have it. The ayes have it, so yes, if Tammy and Matt and I gotta stay with Tammy, so it's her computer. No. Tammy just closed the door, I'm a little nervous.
Mhm.
It's an old building, it's scary.
We are back.
Okay, where's our Jedi Knight? He's there. Peter, are you and Rich all good to go?
Well, I think I am.
I'm all
Okay.
set.
It's gonna be an easy one, guys. So at 5:41, by unanimous consent, we came out of executive session, and we're gonna wait till the regular meeting starts at 6 to make any announcements. And at 5:41, we're gonna take a short adjournment of the meeting, not an adjournment, but we're gonna take a short break and we'll resume the regular board meeting at 6 p.m. So we are gonna not record anything. We're gonna boot everybody out. We're gonna let everybody back in at 6 o'clock. Okay?
Got it. Recess is the word you want.
Recess. Thank you, Peter. I appreciate it. Your grammar is much better than mine.
We used to call it recess.
Recess. Right, now we can all go out and play for 15 minutes, but remember to make sure you got your masks on if you're with people you don't live with. Okay, so we'll see everybody back at 6. Thank you, everybody. Sorry for this. We thought this informational meeting would take a little bit longer. So we'll see everybody at 6. Thank you. Mark, I guess you can stop recording and boot out all but the board members. Okay, so it's 6:01. We're calling the regular meeting to order. I just want everybody to wave hi to Andy. He came down to collect ballots. So Tammy and I voted, nobody else came. But
Thank you, Andy.
he's gonna hang out for 15 minutes. Wave hi to Andy. Is that Dr. B? He's late too.
He thought it was 6 o'clock too.
We're frozen again.
Are we frozen?
Nope, we got you.
Okay, everybody looks frozen. So, under additions or deletions to the agenda, I'd like to just say that we utilized some time after our budget information meeting to have, to move up the executive session up. We did come out of executive session at 5:41 by unanimous consent. There is no decision in executive session. We've instructed our administrators to gather some more information and bring it back to us at the next meeting. Does everybody have that? Is that good? Peter, are you good with that? Okay.
Rich, you have 2 questions,
Peter?
one from Mark and one from Laura.
Laura? Go ahead, Laura, you're first.
Yep. Rich, can we just identify who 239993 is?
Can whoever just got the phone number tell us who you are?
Not a phone number though. That's why it's kind of a little weird.
Well, it could be a phone number, it could be a cell phone.
With 6 digits?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's a new style cell phone.
Maybe that's what the old flip phones was, 6 numbers, Richard? We going back to that or so few?
Yeah, back in the old days, you didn't need as many numbers. Hello, who's ever on the 239 number, 6 numbers, can you please tell us who you are?
If they don't respond, Richard, I think you should probably move them out.
Yeah, we're not gonna kick anybody out.
Yeah.
Mark, you had your hand up?
I don't think Laura was finished speaking.
Okay, Dr. Backus is here also. Dr. B, wave to the camera. Hello. He's a little late, we started at 5. No, I told you to come at 5. First part. Okay, so, members of the public, does anybody from the public have?
Wait, Rich,
Yes?
Laura hasn't finished speaking and I still have my hand raised.
Okay, I don't see your hand up, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Laura.
So Richard, I would just ask that we be prepared to remove that person pretty quickly since we don't know who it is and they're not identifying themselves. So there is such a thing as Zoom bombing. It could be someone who is, or it could just be someone who doesn't know how to deal with this. So are we prepared to remove this person pretty quickly? Can I just get a thumbs up? I see.
I don't believe we can just remove somebody, Laura. People, it's an open meeting. Anybody can attend.
So I don't think if someone starts cursing Richard or shows up naked on our screen, which could happen, we need to be able to remove them, right? So we're not going to continue the meeting at that point, right?
I'm sorry, what?
Let's just wait and see what happens, Rich. I'm good.
And I think Rich is frozen.
So Mark, I would prepare to have your controls ready. And I think that is the best that we can do under the guidance that we have right now. But I appreciate Board Member Sibilia mentioning the fact that we really, for the record, we need that person identified so we can put them in the minutes. So again, I will just ask as the superintendent, if the person who's listed under 239993 could please identify themselves so that we can change your nameplate to accurately reflect the record of our meeting this evening. And Mark, if you can just be prepared in case of an unusual circumstance that we can act appropriately in the public body.
So Bill, can you hear us?
We can now, sir.
Okay, so yeah, I don't believe we can remove anybody. It's a public meeting and we can identify them by that number for now. I mean, I don't know what else we can do.
We just need to be prepared. And I think that we are prepared. It is important though that we do identify the people that are in attendance at this meeting. So we would very much appreciate if 239993 could either edit their listing so that we could have a full record, or if they would like assistance with that, they can unmute. It's *6 if you're on the phone, and we can assist you with that. So we have Mark has a question and Lori Garland has a question.
Okay, hey, Bill, before we move on, so Dr. Backus is here with his moderator hat on. And he says that if that person who's identified by numbers is uncomfortable giving their name, they can contact the board chair directly, and then we can deal with that also. And keep his name out. I mean, he's identified himself on the screen by that name, identified themselves. I don't know if it's he or she. So that is something that we should look into in the future. But again, I think we've made the right call. Laura, I hope you're good with that. Mark, you had your hand up for something?
Yeah, additions and deletions to the agenda. I'd like to add short discussion on VSBA resolutions.
Okay, so why don't we do that in our new business, Mark? Because I don't think we did that at the last meeting.
That's fine.
Okay. Is everybody good to move on?
You got a question from Lori Garland.
Oh, I see. Sorry, Lori.
That's okay. I just wanted to also do an addition, just a quick financial update. I did get a draft audit, so I really wanted to inform the board, and I'll make it brief until we have the full audit. But
Okay, Lori, I'm going to put that after correspondence, if that's okay.
sure.
Okay, then that way you don't have to stay for the whole meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, so if we're all good, then can we move on? Anybody else, Mark?
Nobody's hand is up.
Okay, so members of the public, do I have any members of the public that would like to speak? Okay, how about members of the staff? Okay, I'm going to move right on then to review and approve the minutes of the April 26th meeting. I believe those have not been submitted yet.
They were submitted late this afternoon.
To the board?
for review to be posted. We'll include them on the May 17th meeting.
Okay. I had no correspondence. Did anybody, Bill or Tammy shaking her head no? No correspondence? I'm moving it along, folks. Look at that, Lori. The cards are in your favor tonight. Go ahead and give us a financial update.
Okay, great. So after months and months of waiting and working on the financial audit, we received a draft audit for River Valleys for fiscal year 20 on Friday, and I was able to spend some time today. I haven't gone through the whole thing, so it's still in draft form, but I wanted to inform the board because it was good news. I like to be able to bring you good news when I can. If you remember, we had talked about the operational fund balance being $284,000 with $200,000 set aside for this year's budget as far as buying down the tax rate, leaving $84,000. Through series of corrections, bringing the two districts together, another $138,000 is being added to that number. So bringing the total operational fund balance to $422,000. So that's very good news. Of course, 200 of that is set aside for this year, so leaving 222,000. So also just a quick look at where we're at for this year, fiscal year 22. It looks like coming in with a surplus of around $175,000. That, of course, is still in flux. Will be in flux right up until the end of the year and into the next year, but looking pretty good at that too. I also have that statewide average number if you want it, and the burn burden of last year. And that the statewide average number was 16,842. That is actually this year's. They have announced the statewide average. And then the burn burden for last year was 17,490.
Lori, what was the statewide 16,842?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So the difference is about $600.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Lori, I'm sorry, you were like freezing up and stuff because I think I was starting to do a jig, but Annie told me I had to stop. You said there's, how much extra was there from the audit of the two districts?
$138,000 we were able to add to operational fund balance. Just it was some from bringing the fiscal year 19 audits together. And of course, we had the delay in the Dover audit with a draft and then a corrected final. So by going through that, we were able to reclassify $138,000 to operational fund balance.
So there's 420 in it now?
Yes, but remember 200 has been assigned to this year to buy down the tax rate, fiscal year 21. So that leaves
Okay.
222,000 going forward.
Plus you're anticipating about 175.
For a surplus, right?
So we could actually probably, if we wanted to at the meeting, recommend that the money for the reserve for the building and the transportation come out of reserve funds and not hurt us at all.
You could do that instead of adding it to your tax rate for this year, yes, or for next year.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any other good news, Lori?
No, but I thought that you would all want to hear that. So.
No, that was the best news we heard all night. So, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, I think your math might have been off a little bit on the burn burden. It's 1,600 and change, not 600 and change difference.
Oh, between this year, yeah.
But between the
Yeah,
state
that was my math. That wasn't Lori. So That was me not being able to hear it very well, sorry. Any other thoughts on Lori's good news? Lori, this is why we all love you so much. You always bring us good news.
Not always, but I like to share it when I can.
Well, no, but I think this is a good example of why waiting to have the meeting is really important for us, you know, because we're in a much better financial position than we were, you know, projecting 3 months ago or 2 months ago. So,
Right.
so thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Yes, the audit did take a lot longer than it should have, but you know, that it was worth the wait because we believe we have it correct, and moving forward, these are solid numbers. So that's important.
Okay. So just like, you know, last Wednesday, a virtual pat on the back, you can't see it, but they'll attest and I'm patting you on the back. Good job.
Thanks.
Yay, Bill's got the better thing. He's got the hat going. Is there any other financial updates, Lori, or are you all set?
I'm all set for tonight.
Okay, thank you. So under old business, we have review budget informational meeting. So on May 17th, we're going to try this all over again. So I gave Dr. Backus the wrong time. I told him 6 and not 5. So he showed up at 6 like Andy. So I made a mistake in telling them. So if it's okay with everybody, I think we'll see if Dr. Backus. Okay, so we'll have Dr. Backus go through the warning like I did tonight. And we'll see, there's also going to be a live version of that at the town hall. And Andy's going to come up to do any absentee ballots if anybody wants absentee ballots. Besides the extra pieces of financial, and I also have, and I just forgot to bring it with me tonight, I do have the paperwork that Andy had completed for us last year about the auditors, if that gets questioned, because I think we'll be able to discuss that at the meeting. So, because it's not a candidate, right? So I think Dr. Backus, there's one article on there about voting to do away with auditors because we have an audit. So there's some background that Andy did for us a couple of years ago that we reviewed. So we'll have that. Maybe under other business, we can discuss that. We'll discuss it next Monday or 2 Mondays.
What concerns do you have about this meeting from the public? Where are your areas of most concern about having the information on hand?
Did everybody hear Dr. Backus?
No, you need to step up to the computer.
Dr. Backus asked,
Okay.
does anybody have any concerns as they anticipate this outdoor meeting and anything to do with procedures or how the meeting will be run so that he can be prepared as the moderator?
Correct.
Oh, you can't see me. It looks like everybody's good, huh? Well, Dr. B, I think we're in good shape. Okay, so we'll plan at 5 o'clock on the 17th, and we'll be at the Dover Town Hall, except Tammy will be back in her Wardsboro building where the internet's better. And Andy and I will be up fighting. It's good internet at the Town Hall. So hopefully we'll have good internet. If anybody wants to come and vote absentee, come on down and say hi. There's plenty of room. The North Branch had their meeting there today. It worked out really well. So if there's nothing else on the budget meeting, thank you, Dr. B. Thank you, Andy. Okay, we'll go to the waiting study implementation. I'm going to turn that over to Rick, Mark, and Laura.
You want me to go first? Okay. So S13 was narrowed pretty, it was narrowed from what it was. Folks will recall that S13 is what came over from the Senate, which is creating an implementation task force. There'd been a lot of discussion about looking at education funding and other sundry items as a part of that task force. There's been quite a bit of discussion in House Education. There was actually some back and forth, some pretty healthy back and forth. It was good. They were really digging in. And they ended up moving the bill out unanimously after some changes. 11-0, Representative Kathleen James from Manchester was pretty key in terms of helping to get some changes in that help ensure that we will actually be looking at implementing the weights and not just, different funding mechanisms. I did send both of the committees a letter. All of the members of the committees and the chairs. There's been a fair amount of ongoing on-camera discussion about whether or not folks that have been underweighted will use the funds correctly when we correct the weights, the additional taxing capacity, if they will use it for the kids or if they'll use it for their bottom line. And of course, we've talked here before about the fact that wealthy and larger districts are already making those choices. So with it continuing to be ongoing, I did submit a request to the committees to stop doing that, that it's really not appropriate. Bill is now in Ways and Means, and they will be taking some additional testimony this week, and I'm hopeful that they will be voting the bill out this week. Paul Sillo was in. Folks will remember he was the chair of House Ways and Means when Act 60 was.
You muted.
An architect of the current system, and he felt that this may not be correct. What had happened with the findings of the report. So we shall see what ends up coming out. I think the coalition and the lobbying efforts have been pretty key in terms of keeping in touch with lawmakers, reaching out one-on-one and collectively during all of this. So I'm hopeful that we're going to see something helpful happen. It is clear to me that the biggest part of this fight will be next year when we have to actually implement the weights. So there we go.
So I don't have too much more to add to that. There are a couple of issues that Ways and Means seems to want to add to the bill, putting the income tax back in, and they want to change the makeup of the task force. So the coalition is continuing to lobby to narrow the bill and keep some of these changes out. That's it. The coalition is now officially 501c4, and yours truly was asked, and I have accepted the position of executive director for the organization. And we are now capable of taking donations. So,
Mark, are you also capable of doing interviews as the executive director? As I see, different press people visit our meetings throughout. Would that be a request you would be interested in?
I will put them in touch with the people that are doing interviews for us at this point.
Great. So you can be a conduit, though.
I absolutely am. Yes.
Fantastic. That is wonderful to know.
Hey, Rick, are you all set, or do you have anything you want to add? I know you were going to kind of be our liaison to this.
No, I'm all set. That Mark kind of took that over, and he's run with it very well. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Okay, so we'll give Mark a virtual pat on the back. And Laura, as always, thank you for your hard work. And Bill's giving you one of those, he's blowing up his bugle or something. So if there's any questions on the waiting implementation, if not, we're gonna go beat up Matt again. Matthew, return to in-person school district meetings. Tell me about what, Bill?
Yeah, so we did not get the update from the AOE that I was expecting last week, and I have put in a formal request with the AOE to find out when that guidance might be coming out, because I know it can be very confusing when the indoor guidance after May 1st has, in general, says, yeah, you can have 150 people and the spacing and all that stuff, but just looking for clarification from the AOE, and I will get that to the board as soon as I receive that.
Okay, the reason I was going to Matt first, Bill, was I know Matt was trying to, was supposed to have in person for all grades, and then he had a little issue last week. And I just wondered how Friday went, bringing everybody back in. So that's why I was going to just go to him first. Matt, how did they go on Friday and today?
Shoo, I thought you were going to ask me about the returning to in-person guidelines that we hadn't gotten yet. It went great on Friday. The kids were out, for some of those kids were out for nearly 2 weeks, and it was awesome to have them back. They all seemed happy to be back. We had a great day, and it's like today was like being back to normal. So that was very, very exciting. Very happy.
Okay, thank you. And then Bill, you jumped ahead of me a little bit, but Dr. Backus is in agreement with you, what you said, but maybe, Bill, can you just make a note for our next meeting on the 17th when we do the review the budget information between Andy and, we talked about what we were going to do to protect people that come to the open meeting, we talked about masks, and Andy wasn't sure if we could require masks if people are voting and whatnot. So maybe what we can do is Dr. B and Andy can have a brief discussion at the beginning just to explain what their thoughts are. Like if you wear a mask until you ask a question. I was at the North Branch meeting today at the 10 up, so they were 6 feet apart.
Yes, Rich, I will be prepared on May 17th to discuss those details with the latest information that I have to be able to support a positive outcome of that discussion.
Okay, we froze up a little bit. I'm sorry. Bill, what did you say?
I will be prepared on May 17th with the most up-to-date information to provide input as we discuss with Andy and Dr. Backus about preparing for May 22nd to make it as COVID protocol safe as possible.
Hey, Bill? Bill?
Yes.
Hey, so I don't know what just happened. We're froze up, so.
Oh, well, I'll say it again. I am prepared on May 17th to come prepared with the most up-to-date information that I have to be able to participate in the conversation with our moderator, Dr. Backus, and our town clerk and district clerk, Andy McLean, to prepare for the May 22nd in-person meeting to make it the best COVID protocol as possible.
So we'll have that, you'll have that for that May 17th meeting so that you can kind of give people a heads up?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Bill. I'm really sorry. We keep freezing up over here.
Okay, it allows me to practice my delivery, and sometimes the second one might be a little bit better than the third. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, so return in-person school district meetings, we'll have a discussion about that on the 17th too, see if there's new protocols. Plus, we'll have Dr. Backus at the beginning of our board meeting so we can kind of put him on the spot again too. So the next thing is a long-term planning. We wanted to have a date for the summer retreat. So Bill asked everybody when you had your 20-minute recess that you grab your calendars and give us some dates.
So Rich, if I may, based on a suggestion from the board last meeting, July 19th is a regular time, even though you don't normally meet in July. And August 2nd is also a regular time. So just to provide some concrete examples for people to discuss, I'll put those two dates out there.
Well, how about if we make it real easy before Tammy and I and Dr. B freeze up again? Can we plan it for the 19th, folks? And then if we need more time, we can also use the 2nd because they're regular board meetings anyways. I'll go around the room. Guess we won't go. Laura's good. Dwight?
Just had a question. How much, what's the time commitment for the day? Is it in the evening or is it all day or? That's my
No,
question.
if we could, maybe we start between 5 and 6 and plan 2 to 3 hours with a break in between.
Oh, so it's in the evening then. Yeah, that's
Yes.
fine with me. Okay.
Kate?
That works. I'm glad to see that Wardsboro Internet is treating you well as well.
Yeah, it's lovely. Mark?
I think I'd like to see us plan a little bit more than just a couple hours, but.
Well, we're planning 3. We're planning 3, Mark. Okay, and then Rick?
That works for me. Thanks.
Okay, Bill, there you go. We'll do 3 hours each day.
All right, and I would just ask that board save the date of August 2nd, just in case your meeting on the 19th lends itself to wanting to find another date. But I will lock down July 19th from 5 to 8. From 5 to 8, July 19th. Thanks, Richard.
Okay, Tammy says perfect. I don't want her to hit me again. Nope, been moving. Okay, so is there any other old business? Under new business, we have the recommend teacher to hire Matt, and then we have Mark has his VSBA resolutions. Matt, will you go first?
Yeah, so I just want to give you guys an update that we've been conducting interviews and it's going well. We don't have a candidate to present at this point, and I will bring you up to speed at our next meeting at the 17th, at which point I hope to have a candidate to present.
And we should know after the annual meeting because when are we shipping out contracts?
I believe it's the middle of May. Is that right, Bill?
Yeah, we, no. We have till May 29th.
May 29th.
Okay, any questions for Matt? Hearing none, Mark, you got the floor on your VSBA resolutions.
All right, thank you. I don't have any specific resolutions, but I wanted to bring it to the board to find out whether there are any resolutions that this board would like to present. Resolutions are essentially the positions that the VSBA is taking on issues that are of interest to school boards. So I put that out for discussion, questions, answers.
So does anybody have any thoughts, or Mark, when do they due? They're due by the middle of this month, right?
They're due June 15th. So we can put this on the agenda again for a later meeting and people can think about it.
So Peter, can you add that to the notes? Make sure that's in there and highlight it for us. So if anybody can think of any resolutions, Bill, including you, Tammy, and Matt. And I don't know, Mark, because it doesn't look like the weighting study is going to be finalized this year. Maybe we should think of another resolution we can sponsor to talk about the weighting study, because Laura, when's adjournment? When are they shooting for?
supposedly May 22nd.
So that'll be just before our meeting.
And there's also a veto session that has been scheduled.
Okay. That's if the governor vetoes something.
Which it's, looking increasingly likely is a possibility.
But not the waiting study stuff.
No,
Or is that-
no, yes, it would be because there's money in the waiting study that would be in the budget, and it would be the budget that the governor would veto. So, but it's a small amount of money, so we would probably be okay.
Okay, so maybe Mark, we should look from your group too, to see if there's a resolution that, maybe we can help with.
Okay, yeah, I've been talking to Dan about that as well, so.
We also have a June meeting for Wyndham Central too, so that we can get Wyndham Central and maybe a bunch of the individual boards.
I believe Wyndham Central is June 16th, which would be a day too late.
Okay. You got a better memory than I, sir. Is there any other thoughts on resolutions? Anybody else have anything? Rick, Dwight, Kate?
If I just add, if you're not sure what resolutions tend to look like, if you go to the VSBA's website, vtvsba.org, I think, the menu item all the way on the right, which is probably about, when you pull that down, there's a resolution section there, so you can take a look at how they're formatted and what they tend to say.
Okay. Is there any other comments, questions, answers, thoughts? We've covered our executive session. Our next meeting is May 17th at 5 p.m. for the River Valley Budget Information Session and the board meeting. Bill, let's put the board meeting immediately following.
I will warn it as such.
Yeah, and then that way, in case it goes pretty quick with a professional up there leading us through, will probably be 10 minutes. He's shaking his head yes. So, I have nothing else. So, Bill, I'm sorry you're not getting your 635, but I got to say this on record. After dealing with this internet up here, Kate and the staff in Wardsboro and the parents in Wardsboro and the parents that don't have good internet in Dover and the teachers, I am so sorry that you for a year and a half. This is really awful trying to do this, and I can't imagine trying to keep younger kids' attentions while you're freezing up. So, big kudos to you. You know, they say until you walk a mile in somebody's shoes, you don't know what it's like. And I got to tell you, this was tough. So, I'm glad this is hopefully my one and only appearance in Wardsboro and that I'm going back to my fiber in Dover. So, having said that, is there a motion from somebody to adjourn?
I would love to make a motion to adjourn at 6:38 p.m.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's made, second, and all those in favor say aye.
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 It appears as though the ayes have it. Who's ever in control, you can end the meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Baptist, for coming down. Tammy, thank you for having us.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.